Okay, so in the last couple of videos, I made the videos about 2 girls in 1 cup in the infamous 1 man and 1 horse incident. Those videos back in the day, in the early 2000s, were popping pretty good, that everyone was pretty much enjoying it, the shocking content back then, but there's just one more that actually has a really huge and in-depth story that a lot of us would probably like to know. What's up everybody, I'm Amaryx, and today I'm going to be discussing the story and the origin of 3 guys, 1 hammer, the Dnepropetrovsk Maniacs. Okay, so this video was pretty much a viral, shocking video that happened back in 2007, which was leaked on the internet of just 3 dudes pretty much literally murdering someone on camera, which is pretty messed up. But what happens is had 3 guys, one was holding a camera of some sort, and these other guys had like a hammer that this guy was beating the victim with, and also used other methods like a screwdriver that showed all of it. It's not a very pleasant sight to see, but a simple Google search will probably pop up the video now these days. And yeah, it's not fun to watch. The 3 names were Viktor Sayenko, Igor Superink, oh my god, I'm gonna mispronounce that hard, and also Alexandra Hanzha. They come from the country of Ukraine, so yeah, that explains all the very unique and unusual names. Now, behind the story of all this, the 2 killers actually were involved in many murders and incidents way before this video surfaced. And actually, Igor and Viktor were the ones who were mainly behind the potential motivation and killings of all this. On June 25th, 2007, the first 2 murders happened, and what really pretty much happened was these 2 victims were pretty much just walking by, just doing their own thing, and then Igor and Viktor just randomly just starts hitting them with the hammer, and it's kind of tragic, and it's a potential trend too, and it really sucks, but hey, that's just one way for someone to go on a freaking killing spree. Now, the first person's name was Yekaterina Ichenko, and pretty much like I said, she was pretty much murdered by just simply, they claimed, Viktor and Igor claimed that they were just walking around, just kind of being bored, and then all of a sudden they walk past her, and Igor starts attacking her with a hammer, and that's kind of how like the 3 guys in 1 hammer incident, like infamous name, kind of started, because the guy was just randomly carrying around a hammer for some reason, and just decides, you know what, I'm gonna end this person's day. He was pretty much playing Grand Theft Auto, but in real life. Sadly, all the girl was doing was she was just walking home, just having tea from a friend's apartment, and it's really just innocent and sad. Eventually the body was found, but it was found way too late. It was found like pretty much the next morning, but it was like really early at 5 a.m. and yeah, it was pretty much a lost cause, and she was definitely not where to be saved at that point. Only 1 hour after the first murder, the 2 sociopaths decided, you know what, we're gonna go to kill someone else. So they decided to go after a guy named Roman Tatarevich, and he was just sleeping on a bench near the campsite or the murder site of the first victim, and it's pretty sad too because he was just hanging out, just doing whatever. It was claimed that his head was severely smashed in with multiple objects, and they got to a point where when they found the body, they couldn't even recognize who the dude was. They had to run through multiple DNA tests and everything to make sure to get proper identification, which is really terrifying to think about, considering it was just 2 guys that are crazy in a hammer pretty much. And also, they also probably had other tools too that we don't even know completely. And in some way, the 2 people did not get reported immediately, and the 2 killers were on the loose for many more weeks. So a week later happens, and 2 more victims were actually killed by these men. The names Yekaterina Ichenko and Nikolai Serchek, they were both killed just without any explanation pretty much. Like, we don't know how they died, but they were pretty much attacked only just a week later after the first 2. Their bodies were very shortly found in a nearby town near Novomoskovsk, and yeah, there's no other description besides that, and yeah, it's tragic, but it's like I said, it's like an ongoing trend for these guys. And only 5 days later, the 2 men murdered 3 more guys in the town near Dnipro. The first victim was a guy named Edgar Nechvoda. He was a guy who was just a recently discharged army recruit. He was pretty much attacked and killed by just simply walking home from a basic nightclub. And the really sad part is his own mother shortly finds the body in their apartment complex. And that is a actual really tragic and very terrifying way to figure out the bad news about your son's passing. I bet she went to therapy for multiple months after that. Yelena Shram was the second victim that ended up dying. He was a 28-year-old man who was just pretty much a night guard in the middle of the night. All what happened with him was he was just walking past Igor and Viktor, and pretty much Igor attacked him with a hammer that he hid under his shirt, and that was pretty much it. And it's pretty messed up, but what can you do with this freaking psycho killers, man? Like, no one expects this to happen because these two never got caught for a long time. I don't know how they were getting away with it, but heck, I guess they were just really good at hiding it, and they were probably just lucky too. The last victim name was Valentina Hanzha that was murdered that night, and I think, just thinking about it, it could be related to Alexandra Hanzha because they have a very similar last name, but I don't know about that. But what happened was she was a mother of 3 boys, apparently. Not the same boys that happened in this incident, but she was a mother of 3 and had a disabled husband, which is pretty messed up to think about. Like, you leave a a disabled husband behind while he has to take care of 3 kids pretty much because there's no mom, which is super, nah, dude, that's really distasteful. How could anyone really do that to a family? I mean, come on, like, you gotta be really immoral and messed up to pull that stunt. But Igor and Viktor just didn't have enough of that. They just wanted to keep going. So the very next day, they decide, you know what? They see 2 boys at a fishing pond just minding their own business. For some reason, they went after 2 teenagers. Don't know why, but I guess you gotta have some diversity. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, one of the 2 boys ended up getting killed. His name was Andrei Sidyuk, and he was pretty much killed. And the other one was actually a survivor named not Valentina, Vadim Lakov. I don't know. I'll put that in the little thing. But yeah, he apparently escaped by hiding in the woods, and actually, he comes later, shortly in the explanation of what happens next. Look, guys, don't get me wrong. Teenagers, kids, all of them, they all can be a pain in the butt to put up with, especially when you're trying to raise one of your own. But they're not worth killing off, man. Like, come on. It's not that bad. It's not that serious. I guess in these 2 guys' eyes that no one's safe at this point. Nothing. If you're a little kid, you're elderly, you're fat, you're bald, you're ugly, it doesn't matter. You're not safe. On July 12th, a 48-year-old man named Sergei Mamarchuk, he went missing while riding his motorcycle. And the really depressing part is he recently just beaten cancer not too long ago, and apparently, like many days later after he went missing, his body was actually found. But obviously, by looking at the body, that he was either attacked or beaten up, not like naturally died or killed by like an animal. There was like bruises and of course marks of a potential weapon that Igor and Viktor had. And in this case, it was probably the infamous hammer like in the video. And on July 14th, 2 days later, a woman named Natalia Mamarchuk was riding her scooter just in a nearby village, just hanging out, and then she come across these 2 men, and then they knock her off, and then they decide, you know what, we didn't like this woman very much, so they decided to take the hammer, beat her with it, and then also they decided to get a pipe and just beat her with it to death too. And the funny, kind of not funny, but like the ironic part is they decided to take the scooter and drive off with it. Like, obviously beating someone to death is not funny, but it's just like a little humor irony with the scooter driving off. It's just kind of savage to do so after committing a murder. And on those same days, they decide, you know what, let's speedrun our game because they were treating this like it's some type of video game. So they decided to commit 11 more murders the same day in the span of July 14th and 16th. And then that's when they decide, you know what, we're probably going to get some investigation going underhand. And that's where the little boy, that 14-year-old boy that survived, comes into play shortly next. All of their potential victims was selected extremely random. It was like a randomizer at this point. Like, at this point, literally, they had different ways of torturing and even finding ways of like gouging their eyes out and everything. They just had no empathy, and they were extremely sociopaths. And yes, I don't know why either, like I said, but it's just their way of doing things, I guess. So investigation goes into play, and the survivor, Vadim Lyakov, I think that's how you say it, he pretty much gets framed, and he's actually suspected of killing his friend, so they actually arrested him, which is absolutely insane. Now, luckily, with more evidence that come into play, he was not charged with anything. He was eventually let go. He was pretty much put in the investigation just suspecting him of a murder, but still kind of messed up. But thankfully, Vadim is okay. Originally, the investigation did not link with the other murders, but over time, they got the same exact attack marks and stuff, and probably similar patterns. They decided to get over 2,000 investigators to investigate this case, which is extremely high number of people for an investigation. But I guess these guys were just so relentless that it could be kind of hard to assume that this was all by the same people. The main investigator that hosted the whole thing was Vasily Paskalov, and yeah, they actually did a good job with this. Okay, so people are wondering, how did this all happen? Like, how did the three get caught? Well, it's pretty simple. It's kind of more dumb than you'd believe, but how they got caught was Igor and Viktor were trying to pawn off a cell phone at a pawn shop by trying to sell it that they stole from one of the victims because they're stupid, and they ended up pawning it off. And the people that were investigating, they found out that phone. They tracked it down, and they actually found Igor and Viktor and arrested them right on the spot. Now the third guy that I didn't really say much, named Alexander Hanzha, he actually did not participate in these murders, but he did other crimes, like he was charged with 2 armed robberies, so therefore he was not affiliated with Igor and Viktor's main motives for most of the time. And I think he was in the motive in the video, I believe. He might have recorded it, but then again, and they said that he didn't kill anyone, so we don't know exactly. What's actually interesting enough was the victim in the video was actually identified, and he was actually the Sergei Mamarchuk. He was the 48-year-old cancer patient that was getting beaten. So yeah, in the video you see a guy with he was getting recently beaten cancer in the tumor in his throat, pretty much just get beaten to death with a hammer, and he had a screwdriver and other methods too. And it's kind of messed up, but yeah, it's like, wow. Like, before this video was captured, yeah, they decided to go on a killing spree before that. And what's even more messed up is that they didn't really have much of a motive to really do this. They decided to do this for fun because they just wanted to record murders originally of videos and then try to monetize that through shocking websites and off the internet. And yes, so one of these videos is supposed to be one of those murder projects for these guys to pretty much make money, but obviously that did not work that way because, yes, it did get leaked, but oh man, murdering people for money is not a very good way to do it. And no, yeah, I don't think it was worth it. So Viktor and Igor deservedly get sentenced to life in prison, while his third partner, Alexandra, pretty much, since he only did 2 armed robberies and didn't participate in killing, he only gets sentenced for 9 years. Alexandra was actually released after he did this time, and oddly enough, he's actually happily married with a couple kids. And I can't explain, like, I can't imagine trying to explain that dark past to your wife before trying to marry them, man. Like, that'd be really awkward, especially the friends you had, dude. Yeah, imagine telling your wife you had killers as friends, because that would be not extremely awkward at all, guys. Yeah, not awkward. And that's why it's important to know the context behind all of these videos, and therefore every video needs at least some form of explanation, especially something as dark as this. Okay everybody, that'll be it for today's video about the whole 3 guys in 1 hammer story and incident. Hopefully something like this will never happen again, but it's amazing to show what type of research you can find by finding super rabbit holes and explanations behind simple viral videos like this. And it's sad that the media and stuff does not educate us on this enough. Anyways guys, if you guys really enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, and if you really like this content, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on notifications, because that will help me grow the channel as well. And what's really cool guys is we are already almost halfway there to 4,000 subscribers already. Thank you guys so much for this massive support. This has probably been the best year for me on YouTube. And I love doing this, and I love explaining stuff to you guys. It's actually really fun. If you guys got any recommendations of me you'd like to have me do, I will definitely look into it just for fun, because sometimes video ideas get hard for me. But there's many of ideas I do have. But yeah, feel free to leave a recommendation in the comments below. I did a video one time on Kekma as a recommendation, and people seem to enjoy it. So if you have a decent recommendation, I'll probably will do a video in the future for it. Okay guys, until further ado, I'll see you guys later.